Hello everyone and welcome to Charles Haugen Reviews. Today we are going to be looking at a movie that I saw on last Thursday, called Iron Lung. Now, I didn't know anything about Markiplier, didn't know anything about the game, went into it completely blind. I've heard of the name of Markiplier, but I haven't watched any of his videos or anything like that. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even look up a plot synopsis. And I have to say, this movie was like tailor-made for me, and I actually really enjoyed it. And starting off with a synopsis here, basically Markiplier plays this convict, and he is sent down on this submarine into this ocean of blood that's on this moon, and he's looking for some type of evidence or connection within the ocean that will tie back to this quiet rapture that happened that wiped out all humanity on planets, and it wiped out all the stars, and basically the only people that survived were the ones on space stations. So he's trying to find something, and the situation gets worse and worse and worse, and it gets into some very horrific territory, and it is a claustrophobic nightmare. Going into cinematography, I feel like this is a very difficult film when it comes to kind of critiquing the cinematography. And I say that because it's one of those films that takes place entirely, for the most part, in a single location. So there's only so many things that you can do with that setting. But I feel like Iron Lung did a fantastic job. We get a lot of shots of like the pipes and the condensation, and we get a lot of close-ups of his hands as they're like operating a lever or operating I guess what would be like the thrusters of the sub. We get like a lot of zoom-ins on the compass that's showing what direction they're going in, and this is going to tie more into the sound portion of this review, but the compass itself creates a very good visual and auditory tension builder throughout the film. There are some, I guess you would say, there are some portions in here where I definitely think that they kind of linger on certain shots too long, or they're a bit too repetitive with showing you certain things, but it really never bothered me to the extent that I've seen some other reviewers, it's kind of bothered them. I understood going in that there's only so much that they're going to be able to show us. But I felt like with what they were working with, this was really, really well done. I feel like there were a lot of very creative camera angles here, and some of the like creepier imagery too. I really liked the cinematography there. And towards the end of the film, and I'm going to avoid spoilers here, so I don't want to go too much into it, but I will just say that we get some very nightmarish stuff that is very borderline Event Horizon. And it reminded me of those good old body horror films from the 1980s and early 90s. So getting to see that in this claustrophobic environment was really, really great. And yeah, I mean, for what they had and for what they worked with, man, I can't imagine it getting much better. And for the VFX, the thing is that this film is designed in a way that it doesn't really need that much VFX. Like, we do get these images on the X-ray camera that show us these creatures that are outside of the ship. And, I mean, I guess you could consider that VFX. It's more of like artwork, I would say, more than anything. But it was really creepy, and it just added to that allure and added to that mystery here. There are some VFX kind of later in the film, more in the body horror aspect, and I thought that they were actually really well done. I'm curious who exactly worked on the practical effects here, because I thought they were great. There were certain things that happened to our protagonist that were really gross, and I could like audibly hear people gasping next to me when that happened on the screen. It was stomach churning for sure. And I mean, what more can you ask? I think that this had better VFX than a lot of big Hollywood films, and that may be because it's so limited, right? Because there's only so many scenes where they actually use VFX, but the scenes where they did use it, it really stood out. But this is a film that did not rely on it, and I love it when movies don't have to rely on VFX. The set was practical. A lot of the blood and a lot of the condensation and that kind of thing, it was all practical. So it really kind of anchors you in that world that he's in right now. And I thought it was masterfully done. I would say that sound is probably one of my biggest critiques on this. I felt like the the score here wasn't a big standout. There was nothing really memorable about it. It was more of just atmospheric droning tones and that kind of thing, which I guess fit. It's suited for the type of film that it is. But I would have liked something more resonant that was, like a theme or something that we could keep coming back to, or we could keep having it come up. But I felt like the music overall was just more ambient noise than anything. I will also say that the audio mixing here is not the best. There are a lot of instances where the volumes of what people are saying are very erratic, and sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low. It's a bit difficult at times to understand what people are saying. And I think for that part, a lot of individuals who are going to watch this movie are going to have a bit of a struggle following along with the film. But I do think that once this hits physical media, hopefully, that subtitles are going to make a world of difference. And I think it's going to be a lot easier to follow, but more into that in the writing aspect. And for performances here, I mean, Markiplier is pretty much the main performance that we get. I mean, we get some like talking voices through radio boxes here and there, and we do get a little bit of interaction with other characters, but it's like, they're not really like together, if that makes sense. I don't want to go too much into it, but you get to see other people. It's just that there's not a lot of true interaction that's happening here. But for Markiplier, I think this is probably his first acting role. I'm not sure. I mean, he did really well. Like, there were certain parts where I was kind of like, yeah, it's showing that he's not traditionally trained, specifically like the more emotional moments, but it was never something that really took me out of it. Like, I felt like, yes, it wasn't Oscar worthy, but it was still believable. And honestly, that is one of the most impressive things about this movie, is the fact that this guy with, to my knowledge, like no acting experience, and he was just a YouTuber, is able to play and carry a character throughout a whole film like this. I thought it was unbelievable. I mean, I was really shocked. I was expecting having a YouTuber as the main actor. It was going to be corny dialogue. It was going to, the emotional performances wouldn't be that good. But man, he goes through the whole, frame of emotions here. And he really shined in one specific area when it came to regret. And when you see the movie, you'll know, but something happens and he makes a mistake. He wasn't aware of like the impact that something he does would have. And it's like very subtle in the dialogue, which will be more in the writing portion, but also in his performance. Like, he's very quiet and reserved, but at the same time you can tell, like, going through his mind, that he's like reliving what he did and like considering what he could have done differently. I think he did a great job kind of expressing that inner regret and inner turmoil. So honestly, like, hats off to Markiplier. I mean, this was, I was shocked. That's the most that I can say, is that I was shocked. Now, writing, I think this is where the film is going to struggle the most. I was able to piece together what happened watching this movie and like kind of some of the backstory. I was able to piece things together. It did take like a lot of effort on my end, since I knew nothing about the game, so I really had to like lock in and focus on everything that was being said and everything that was happening. But I can easily see somebody going to this movie and maybe they're not like 100% invested, or they get distracted for a brief moment and then they're completely lost. I think that a better job could have definitely been done in more of the exposition side, and more of the side where it's really explaining what happened in this world, who's affected, who's impacted, what his mission is, that kind of thing. I could definitely see, even if you got up and went to the bathroom and came back, like, you could be completely lost and not know what's going on. So I definitely think this was made for players of the game and fans of Markiplier who have watched him play the game. I'm assuming he's done playthroughs. I'm not sure, but I would imagine if he made a movie out of it. Yeah, just for like a normal viewer, I could definitely see where there's potential to get lost. I will say as well that the runtime here is a bit much. I think that they could have shaved off 20 minutes and it would have been fine. Now, that being said, I don't think there's any events in the script or in the movie that didn't need to happen. Like, everything that happens kind of drives towards the climax, and I don't feel like anything was unnecessary, if that makes sense. It was just more of a lingering thing. Like, they just lingered too long on specific moments, and they lingered too long on certain shots, and it was like, if the editing had been better, they could have cut out a lot of that, and maybe some of the back and forth dialogue too between him and some of the other, I guess you could say, characters in the movie. Maybe some of that could be cut back too. I'm not sure. I'm not an editor, but that's just my feeling, is that it was a little bit too long. I think that the dialogue that we get here, though, especially having it focus on one character the whole time, I think the dialogue's really well done, especially when it comes to him conveying his emotions and the instance I mentioned before about him feeling regret over something that he does. It was almost like the repetitiveness of him bringing it up that really, like, it's a simple gesture, but it shows you so much about like what the character internally is thinking. So, and how they're feeling and what's going on in their mind. So I really thought that that was a nice touch. I do think that there was a lot more room here for, I guess, more direct exposition, more layers could have been added to kind of explain the world, especially for those who had a hard time following, since the audio mixing is not the best. So I do think that when you have an issue like the dialogue being difficult to hear at times, it's very important for the story itself to be clear. So yeah, overall though, I think that it is an interesting film, and I think that like this kind of genre is made for me specifically. It's Lovecraftian, it's cosmic horror, it's like subterranean, claustrophobic horror. It's got all of the different aspects of movies that I love, like The Void, like Event Horizon, like Sphere, like The Abyss. Like, I love these movies, or The Descent is another one. I love these movies where they're kind of in a confined location and they have to survive. And when there's like some type of supernatural threat on the outside. And I mean, even like how metal the concept is, that he's in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean, in an ocean filled with blood, and he has to use an X-ray camera to show these things. But yeah, no, I thought that the writing was good here, you know, for him writing it, directing it, editing it, acting in it. I mean, he really like did not hold back and put his all into every aspect of this. And I mean, mad respect, mad kudos. And for my overall rating for this, I mean, like I said, this is a movie that is tailor-made for me. I love these type of claustrophobic horror films. I need to make a list. I think I'm going to make a top 10 video or something. Like, I absolutely love these kind of movies. Anything that's at the bottom of the ocean with monsters like that, yeah. It's exactly the kind of stuff that I really get into. And adding on top of that, this Lovecraftian cosmic horror element really just bolstered it up for me. So I know that I'm like super biased when it comes to this, because like I said, this is everything that I want in a film. It does have its issues. It does have its issues with pacing, with runtime, with the audio mixing. But honestly, for me personally, I would have to give this like a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. I actually really enjoyed this. And I'm seeing the reviews coming out where people are kind of mixed on it. People are, complaining about a lot of the things that I complained about. But again, I know that I'm biased, so take that with a grain of salt. If you like these kind of movies, and if you like subterranean horror, like Deep Star 6 or Underwater or that kind of thing, you're probably going to have a great time here. So definitely go see it in theaters. We need more films like this, and I know I say that in like every single video, but I'm a champion of movie theaters. I don't want to see them go away. Which I fear is likely in the near future. So definitely go see it. Support indie projects like this, because they are one of the last tent poles of creativity and ingenuity that we're going to have as big corporations take over everything. So absolutely. What did you think of Iron Lung? Have you ever played the game? Is it worth playing? I might get it if it is. Have you been following Markiplier for a while? Is this his first acting performance? Like, I'm very curious, and I'm probably going to do a deep dive on him, because I need to know. Like, this is like the ultimate passion project, and mad respect for him. So Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace!